I'm Arin Greenwood. I am the newly minted senior strategist for network and advocacy communications here at Best Friends. And I'm so excited that you're all here for today's webinar, Advocacy 101, Engaging Lawmakers with Confidence. You'll see some info here on this screen. If you've got questions, and I hope you will, put them in the Q&A. And we're going to have a survey at the end that we really hope you'll fill out because your feedback is really important to us. We've got three really excellent guests here today. Best Friends legislative attorney Kelsey Gilmore-Futeral is here. We've got Eric Swafford, the Director of Legislation and Campaign Strategy for Best Friends. Eric comes to this both as somebody who works as an advocate now and who used to be advocated because he was a member of the Tennessee General Assembly. And we've got Shelley Delahoussaye, the animal shelter manager for the Lafayette Animal Shelter and Care Center in Louisiana. Thank you all so much for being here.
Of course.
Shelley, I want to start with you. You told me an incredible story about how you came into your role at the shelter with a mayor in place who had run on a platform of making the community no-kill, but then he was not the mayor forever. So can you tell me what happened when the first mayor left office and somebody new came in and you had to advocate with that person?
Yeah, for sure. It was a little rare that a mayor actually ran on the campaign of No Kill, which set us up for success, and it was great. But of course, they only last a term. And so when the new mayor came in, I just do like an onboarding process, just like I would a normal staff member, that I go into that mayor's office. I try to get in their office within a few weeks of them getting into office, set up a meeting with them. I'll go in, there's no fancy presentation. I don't have a PowerPoint. I go in with just myself and our story and a notebook in case they have notes that I need to take. And I just tell them, how far we've come, the way things used to be, the way things are now, all the work that we've put in. And I don't want it to backslide. So that's pretty much all we do, is just go in and have that conversation, just so they know me, they know our story, and then they don't hear it from somebody else.
And just to give people some perspective, how far have you come? I mean, it's really remarkable where you are now and where you used to be.
Yeah, in 2017, our save rate was a little below 40%. Save rate for cats was a whopping 9%. So only 9% were getting out alive. It was very hard. It was tough. And then in 2020, we finally had our first month of being over 90%. And then we've been 90% since then. So for the last 5 years, we've made it over that hump. So it was a lot of work, but yeah, it's great. Thank you, Eric.
You're so welcome. I mean, thank you.
Yes.
So what role do you think advocacy plays in you being able to save all these lives? Like, what do you advocate for in your role?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try, just like I onboard the mayors, I also try to get a relationship with our council members. You have to think that these are the ones that are actually approving or denying ordinance changes, funding, any of that. So we have a parish. It's not a council in county in Louisiana. So I have a parish council and a city council. And I also try to make relationships with them as well. Try to get into their office or invite them over to the shelter so they can see what we do. Just try to form that relationship with them so that they can see the good work that we're doing. So hopefully we can continue. Also, always, if I have an agenda item, I'm always trying to make sure they understand the why behind it. Like, why am I asking for this? Was it just a complaint that we keep getting multiple of in one area? Or why is this money getting used for this reason? Just anytime you can explain why, I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, and you feel like building these relationships is helping you do your work, is helping you protect these animals.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the council members have my cell phone, so I mean, if they need, they can call me. I mean, I had one call a while back just because he had a raccoon in the backyard and wasn't sure what to do. Like, it's whatever. Just call me and we'll work it out. But just to have that relationship with them that they know they can call, and then I'm not always the one asking them for something.
Well, I think that's great. Now, Kelsey, you just heard Shelley's story. What is advocacy? So for what Shelley tells us is that she spends a lot of time just building relationships with people and being there when they need something, so that by the time she needs something, that bridge has been made and they trust her and they understand her work, they understand the work of the shelter. What do you hear there? What is advocacy?
Yeah, I was taking notes while Shelley was talking too. So for me, advocacy is bringing people along so that they see your position and agree with what it is that you're asking them to agree with, whether it's taking a point of view, taking an action, believing in something, supporting something. But it is the crux to that, to me, is bringing people along with you. So it's sharing information with a call to action and bringing them with you, as opposed to yelling at them about something. So I oftentimes, when I would teach animal law, I talk a lot about the difference between advocacy and activism. They both have a place. But at Best Friends, we work a lot on advocacy because we believe in bringing everybody along on this journey together, and that when we inform and educate people, they're more likely to agree with the things that we're asking them to do or the positions that we're asking them to take. And at the end of the day, that's the win for the animals.
What is the difference between advocacy and activism?
I believe that activism is a little bit more hostile, would be the adjective that I would use for it. So it can be more oppositional. It can be more, think trial attorneys, where you're being an activist for something. It can be really in your face. And I think a lot of us have probably either been marketed to for activism, or we may have had to deal with activists and try to help them understand that activism doesn't get us listened to. Might it bring issue awareness about? Sure. But it's not necessarily going to lend itself to bring people along to change their mind, to open their minds and the way that they're thinking about the issue we're talking about. Activism can be really, really abrasive.
Something that you and I talked about when we were preparing for this that really just, I thought it was really insightful and interesting, was that advocacy is often for things that we don't think of as being advocacy. We all know about advocating to change an ordinance. We all know about advocating, for various things like that. But you had this idea that advocacy is actually about all kinds of things that relate to life saving. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, I mean, we advocate for things every day, right? If you're in a family of people, have siblings, and you wanted pizza and they wanted tacos, you were advocating for pizza. So anytime that there is a situation where you're trying to bring other people along to agree with you, we're in a position of advocacy. So you think about how many times a day you are advocating for something, someone, yourself. When it comes to life saving, it can be very simple things at the policy level. It can be removing certain barriers that help us either keep pets in homes or get pets out alive. So it doesn't have to be these massive pass a congressional law, pass a state law, change an ordinance. It can be what Eric's probably going to talk about, which is be open a little bit later when people are actually around to shop for pets. The people that you want to get your pets out to, how about you be open to show them the pets when they're looking for the pets? And sometimes we have to advocate for that because we have to educate about why that's important, as to Shelley's point. And then we have to bring them along about how to do the thing that we're asking them to do to make that change.
So just take me through the process. Let's say I'm brand new to this and I want to advocate for exactly what you're saying. Like, I want to advocate for more hours at my community shelter. What does that look like? Where do I start? What's the process like? Who do I need to talk to? What should I expect will happen along the way?
Yeah, I think in my experience, understanding what's happening at the shelter is important. So if I were new to this, I would call Shelley's organization and say, hey, I really want to help the shelter out with some life saving, with whatever it is you guys need or are working on. What are you doing that I can help with? Our action team is 200,000 plus people nationwide, right? So we have action alerts and petitions up all over the country right now. there are also a myriad of toolkits that are online that can help you understand how to advocate and support these policies in your community. Some, educational resources that we've written for policymakers. You want to educate yourself before you start down this journey, because you might very well come to advocate for something that already exists. And we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to come with the most information we have. So doing what we call is due diligence. That's some research to understand what's happening in your community. What does your community need to be supported? And then helping to fill those gaps with a lot of the educational and informational resources we have.
And so then once you've done that, then let's say I work for an organization. Let's say I'm at a shelter and I want to start advocating our local lawmakers to do something for a bigger budget or for, whatever it is that I'm interested in. After we've done the due diligence, what do we do after that?
We ask for a meeting. And I think part of the miscommunication or the misunderstanding that people have is that the decisions are made in the council meetings, right? There's so much pressure placed on public comment. And when we go and we're going to talk and we only have 3 minutes, and what are we going to say and how am I going to say it all? And I hate public speaking. Don't worry about that. Call your local elected official. They're your neighbor. They will have coffee with you. Miami and, some of these bigger cities aside, where it's a little bit of a different story, and we can talk offline about that. But the majority of us live in communities where our elected officials will take our calls, will sit down for coffee, may have coffee hours somewhere at a local cafe, and want to hear what you're trying to do and what issues you're trying to solve. So like Shelley said, come with the why, but also come with the how. So what elected officials get all the time are complaints without solutions. Best Friends has all of the solutions ready for you on our resource pages. You just need to go dig out what it is that you're problem solving and bring those solutions to the elected official when you meet with them. And when you sit down and you share your passion, you share that you vote, and you say, hey, this is, our shelter's really struggling. I started volunteering there. I've met a couple times with the director, and gosh, we could really use some additional support so that we could be open for adoptions on Saturdays. Can we talk a little bit about shifting resources around and what that would look like to offer adoption hours on Saturdays? Because the shelter says it's a problem at the county level, that they're not allowed to do that. So this is a problem. This is a solution. How can I help you do it?
I think that's incredible. So I used to be a journalist, and it used to really strike me every time that I just sent an email or made a call that you could just choose somebody to talk to, and they would almost always answer your email or answer the phone and tell you what it is that you were interested in finding out about. And I've really just taken that lesson with me through so many parts of life that it sounds like you're saying this is how advocacy works too, that you're interested in talking to somebody about somebody. So just reach out to them and try to talk to them. And is it okay to be scared the first time you go in to do it? Like, is that normal if people feel nervous and you get more used to it as you go?
And just say it.
Is that your experience too, that you can be nervous at first and then you sort of get used to what you're doing?
Oh yeah, you're always nervous, right? But you think that these people are somewhat different than you, but they're not. They're in your community. They live right down the street. Like they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like us. So it's you get nervous, but you just have to remember they're just normal people just like us, and they just want to hear about it. So
yeah.
I think that's great. And what happens if they say no the first time you ask for something? What do you do after that? Do you give up?
Yeah. Help me understand what I need to do to get us to yes. Help me understand why you're at a no right now. Help me understand what challenges you're seeing. Is this not the right time? Is this, but I love the phrase, help me understand, because it comes from a collaborative approach to problem solving that shows that we're really invested in understanding and listening to what they have to say. And we can't solve a problem that we don't understand. So we may not know why the answer, we may assume, and that's never the right course of action, right? So many people assume the things that are happening in y'all shelters, right? And they don't take the time to understand, to ask, to know. And so how important it is for y'all to be heard and listened to. It's the same for elected officials if they're in a position of telling you no. And the answer might be just not right now, but all that came out of their mouth was no. So always ask for help me understand, or what can I do? What information are you missing? And keep that dialogue going.
Now, Eric, I want to ask you a question. You had a time that you weren't interested in something, and then you became a big time fan of charter schools. Can you talk about why you became a fan of charter schools and what that was like?
I'll try. I'll try. Um, when I was in the legislature, charter schools and expanding charter schools was a hot topic. I represented a very rural district. We didn't have a charter school. There was really no chance of us getting a charter school. In again, my small rural district, the local teachers union, the education association, the teachers union, uh, was opposed to it. That's just about all I knew. Is one, it's not going to affect me. The teachers are against it. I'm probably not going to be for expanding access to charter schools either, until it became personal. And a group of ladies from Memphis came to see me. A couple of them had their kids with them, and lady sat in my office and she said, we're here to talk about charter schools. And the first thing I said was, we don't have charter schools in my district, probably not going to have. And she says, well, I know that, but we just give us a few minutes. I said, well, of course. And she sat across the desk from me, and she told what she had to do for her child to go to a charter school, the number of hours she had to volunteer, the fact that she had to get up and get her child to school very early, the hardship it was to get the child home in the afternoons, how much extra homework they did, all the things that she was doing for her child to get a different educational opportunity. And she looked at me when she told me all this. She said, my son is in a school that, one, I don't think is safe, but two, he would be in a school that is failing. Please just give me the opportunity to do something else for my child. All I'm asking for is an opportunity. If it's wrong, it's on me. But if I'm willing to do all these things, if I'm willing to jump through all these hoops, and you know what teachers have to give up to be able to teach in charter schools, they have to give up tenure, they have to give up this, they have to give up that. Yes, ma'am, I'm aware. So if they're willing to do that, and we're willing to do this, why were you going to tell us no? And I sat there for what seemed like minutes, because to be honest, I had to kind of gather my own composure. And I said, I don't have a reason to tell you no. And I became a huge advocate for expanding access to charter schools. Because I think about that lady looking at me and just basically begging me to give her an opportunity to do something for her child that she thought was in her child's best interest. And I look back today and think, who would I have been to say no? So lots of times I say this, Kelsey's heard me say this probably thousands of times over the years. Politics is not personal. Political issues are not personal, but you can make them personal with your elected representation. You can make the issues come to life. You can connect on a personal level. And when you do, when you connect on a personal level, you take someone from just being a yes vote or a no vote, if that's what you're advocating for, to being an advocate for you, oftentimes to being a champion for you. And I think about that. If I live to be 100, I will never forget that day, because it really changed the way I viewed that issue, and it changed the way I viewed a lot of issues in terms of education. It changed the way I viewed a lot of a really big scope of issues, to think, okay, why should I not give people the opportunity to do better, and to look at every
Sorry.
issue, from what is in the best interest of the absolute people that this is really going to impact. So I remember it well.
How would you translate that to animal issues? So if somebody wants to be that persuasive, be that powerful in their advocacy when it comes to animal issues, what would be the equivalent way to do that, or what would be the right way to do that?
Well, first of all, animals are sentient beings, right? Should we not give every animal in every shelter every possible opportunity to get into a home? Should we not do everything we can just to create that opportunity? And it's really the same. And I come to this work oftentimes, and I think about those types of things, and I think about the message that we send when we're talking about animal issues. And I see Kelsey grinning and nodding at times, because she spent way too much time over the years hearing me talk to elected officials, and hearing me talk to advocates about talking to elected officials. When we say, look, maybe animal issues are not, they don't think are important to them. Maybe they don't think they're important to them. But when you say, look, should we not use this to help the next generation understand that every living thing has value, that they all have meaning, that we should do everything we can to create the best opportunity for the greatest outcomes for everything? And you show me somebody that'll say no to that. I mean, that person, if they exist, I don't want to meet them, and I've never met them yet. And I'm old. And I've been in this arena a while. So that's how it translates for me. And a lot of people know my background is a little different from a lot of animal advocates. But I come to this issue through a value system of just that. Should we not create every opportunity for the greatest outcome for everything that we have power over? Of course we should. Just means we're decent humans, right?
Somebody in the chat is asking what the person. We're going to get into a whole thing about charter schools. Our next webinar will be about charter schools. They're asking what the person advocating for charter schools is actually asking for. Did they want money or resources? What were they wanting?
They were wanting us to lift, a pilot program that only allowed a few select schools in a few different places. They were wanting us to expand that, where charter schools could be available. So it was no longer a pilot project. So charter schools could be available to anyone that was in a failing school district. Not even at the time, weren't even asking for someone from a failing school. Just if there's a failing school district and a private organization wants to come in and partner and open a charter school, let them. That was all, anywhere in the state. That's what they were asking for at the time. And actually that very year that passed, and we expanded it a little further a couple of years later to to actually make it possible for any child that was in a failing school to attend one if there was one available.
Yeah. And Shelley might agree with me when I say that when we advocate for issues around life-saving, we're arguing for that same opportunity. Very rarely
100%.
are we
Just
coming in
the
and
opportunity,
asking,
right?
just the opportunity. We're rarely, if maybe never, asking for a government to actively require something or make a choice that requires things to happen. We're almost always asking for freedom for the shelter to do what it needs to do to save lives and place animals, to be able to vaccinate on intake, to be able to place a microchip. We're looking for people to be able to own a pet regardless of how big its head is or what its tail looks like. So we're really just asking the government to let us do the things that we need to do to take care of our community. Shelley, I don't know if that's been your experience.
Yeah, definitely. When Eric was talking just now, I thought about that mayor that ran on the campaign of no kill. And you would think, oh, he's a huge animal lover and that's why he did it. No, he had like a chocolate lab in the backyard that he hunted with. Like he wasn't us, but he knew the power and he knew the animals mattered to people and that the people voted. And so like I know it's like crazy, but he saw that and he saw the comments. Like he would say all the time, he's like, if we comment on animals, I get more interactions with animal people than I do about drainage, streets, any of that, because they're so passionate about animals. There's got to be something there. And I mean, he struck gold. It was true. Like he saw it and he made it happen, but he wasn't he wasn't a crazy animal person. He would never put his dog in a sweater, right? But he knew the power of the people that loved animals, and it changed our whole community. It changed the whole culture of the way that our community viewed animals. And yeah, it was amazing. But it's true, just like Eric said, it's not they don't have to be just like us to sway their mind.
Well, that's something that I want to ask all of you, actually. So if it's clear to the person who you're advocating to that there's a big interest in whatever it is that you're asking for, or that there's a lot of community support for it, that kind of gets you part of the way already. What if it's not clear and you have to demonstrate that support? How do you show that this is an issue that their constituents care about?
I know for us, the numbers speak to it. I mean, just the sheer number of animals that come in, the people that want to make this happen, um, you know, that right there, it sort of speaks to itself on why we need to do it.
Yeah. And Best Friends has a free resource that everybody on this call can use, which is the ability to build a petition online. Petition is not always activism, right? The majority of the time, the petitions that Best Friends is helping to support and is helping to frame are supportive language. And it's a way for you to demonstrate and to collect people in your community, and just show again that rank number. Plus, it can also help put them in the hopper a little bit for you later down the line if you feel like you do need people to make calls for you. So first, you want to show that there's that interest in the community. You can get it sometimes from census data, how many people are owning pets in the community, how many adoptions you had, how many returned to owners, and then maybe donations or other things that you guys are doing to engage the community directly. Volunteer service hours, all of these types of things are measurable data points where you can show how invested the community is in animals. And then making sure that that community has somewhere to put its attention. You can hold meetings at your shelter after hours. You can look to a local business to maybe allow you some meeting space to convene people who are interested in getting engaged and helping to accomplish a certain goal. And then starting, the social media and all of the things that you would do for any other type of campaign, whether it's, a clear the shelters or whatever you might have done otherwise. This is no different.
Does it help to get media involved ever? I assume sometimes it helps and sometimes it hurts. I mean, if you can get an article about a petition that you've started or a change that you're asking for, when is that a good idea to try out? When is that a bad idea to try out?
Eric, do you want to go first?
I'll go first on this one. Um, you know, often people say all press is good press as long as they spell your name right, right? Um, I tend to disagree with that. Um, the bad thing about press is you can't control the narrative. And when we're advocating for something, we want to always control the narrative. If there's any way that it can be seen as negative, or could have a negative spin, that's kind of a last resort. We've hit a brick wall. We have got to do something. But we want to contact the press and bring the press in when there's something great going on, when something great has happened, when there are forward-facing steps that are being taken. That's when we want to bring media in. Elected officials love press as long as it's good press. And I mean, let's face it, they're no different than the rest of us. We all like to get praise, right? So, as far as bringing the media in, we want to make sure that we can control the narrative if at all possible. So, it can be a little tricky, and all press is not good press, even if they spell our names right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had a question in the Q&A about how to advocate for more funding for community CAP programs, where you'd get started. Shelley, this seems like it would be up your alley since you made such tremendous gains in saving cats' lives where you are. What would be your process if you wanted to advocate for getting more funding for CAP programs?
Again, we like to use the data, use the numbers. So Best Friends has great resources online that you can go and find the numbers and showing that a good trap neuter return program is going to give you that or ROI, return on investment, knowing that this money that you're putting in is going to start dropping the cat population numbers in your community. Great resources on that. Alley Cat Allies has some great resources on their website about that. I would just definitely stick with those numbers that if we just, and government's always thinking about the money, right? They're always thinking about what they're spending on. And so if I'm spending X amount of dollars just taking in these cats and euthanizing or feeding and housing them versus just trap neuter return, it's going to be cheaper to put them out too. So I know that's not the reason why we want a TNR. We want a TNR to drop the cat population, but they think numbers. So just show that it's cheaper to TNR them. It's going to be cheaper on the just the annual budget. But to advocate for the money to get started, I would definitely just use the data that already exists. I went at that time when we started, this was 2017 when we did our trap neuter return. Not a lot of people had that going on, but Jacksonville Humane Society did. Shout out to them wherever they are. But I literally copied what they did. I showed their numbers and how their cat population was starting to decrease. And I used their data to say, hey, if they could do it, why can't we do it here?
We have another cat
I'd like
question.
to piggyback. I want to piggyback
Sure,
on
go
that
ahead.
one just a little bit because that is such a big issue. The other thing that remind lawmakers and elected officials about on TNVR is, that's the only scientifically proven method to reduce populations over time. If any other method worked, we wouldn't still be fighting this problem. We wouldn't be dealing with this. I told a group of legislators from Hawaii a few years ago, I said, look, if catch and kill worked, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And they just kind of looked at me and were like, well, I guess that's right. So, the other thing to do is remind them, look, long term, this is going to save you money, but also it's something that works. what we're doing, we will be doing the exact same thing 20 years from now that we were doing 20 years ago. And that's just money down the drain.
I love taxpayer arguments myself. I feel like saying, is this where you want your tax money spent? I find that very persuasive.
100%.
Yeah. So we have another question. This one's really hard. This is somebody who has done all of what it is that we're suggesting here and just keeps hitting a brick wall when it comes to being able to do TMVR in their community. And they say instead of getting an ordinance change, instead of getting funding, instead of getting a pilot program off the ground, they got kicked out of the shelter and now they're not even allowed to save dogs. What do you do at that point? I mean, that's a hard position to be in. What do you do next?
I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
Influence the influencers. And what I mean by that, everybody knows somebody that can change someone's mind. Sometimes it's not the message, it's the messenger. Sometimes we have to have someone that has a relationship. And this goes back to something that Shelley started our webinar off with. Build relationships when you don't have an ask. But if you're to that point, you've done everything, you've tried everything, find a different messenger. Find out who influences these folks and find someone that can influence them. Who are we most often going to do a favor for? Well, our friends, our neighbors, a family member. That is something that we often underutilize. We don't think about, we call it influencer mapping. Find out, where these people, do they belong to Rotary? What church do they go to? Do their kids play soccer, or do they play golf, or their kids play baseball? Somebody knows them that can talk to them and get their ear to say, hey, you need to look at this a little differently. And oftentimes it really is that simple. And that's how we unstick things.
You find a spouse, you find a friend, you find a
100%.
club with.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's sometimes we get so focused on the gold standard that we forget how important incremental change can be. So
100%.
if our goal is we want a shelter neuter return program, but gosh, we can't get there. Start with just letting community cat caregivers do TNR on their own time and resource. Don't ask the county or the government to invest time or money. Just say, hey, just let us do it. Let Good Samaritans spend our own money. You can call us stupid all you want, but just don't waste our tax dollars to kill the cats that we're caring for. Or, microchip them, start to establish this argument and this pattern for this is working, these animals are cared for, whatever it is. Don't get discouraged or don't get fixated on the gold standard result. See if you can break it down and find out, is there another way that I can demonstrate that we're here to stay, that this does work, that we can do this, even without asking them to lift a finger. Because, if they don't want to work, not trapping and picking up cats is a real good way to cut your workload by 90%.
I think you can call it a pilot program. People love pilot programs. That way it sounds very temporary too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about really big things. Now I want to talk about something that's very numbery. Data. Data is super important. How do you use data? Where do you find the data? How does data help you make your case? What works when it comes to data?
Yeah, that it always works. It always works. And so just find a shelter or an organization that's already doing what you want to do and get their data. Or that's what I did. I used Jacksonville's numbers to show that their cat population was declining. Hey, we can do that here. And then now I use ours. Like, I'll give our data to whoever wants it to present to their county or parish officials. So also Shelter Ant, they have the Shelter Pet Data Alliance. I forget what they call it, the Data Alliance, but it's the website that you go and put all your data in, and it's free for everybody to use. So you can go and use that. But like I said, I would definitely contact either shelters in my area or close by, or anybody that's doing what I want to do, and use their numbers, because the numbers don't lie. The numbers are there, and you need to use them for sure.
And they help you make the case that what you want is possible, right? That here we're at these numbers, this other community is at these numbers. Here's how they got there. We could do that too.
Yep, exactly. Like, why can't we? Why couldn't we do it? If they could, why can't we?
Yeah. And thank you for plugging Shelter Pet Data Alliance. It is a terrific tool.
Sorry, I screwed up the name.
If you're not using it, please start. It's totally free. It'll let you use your own data to help make the case for what it is that you want to do. It'll help you identify where you have opportunities. It lets you compare your data to other organizations. Check it out. Yeah. Kelsey and Eric, how do you use data when you're doing your work?
The biggest thing is use it to compare. Show, look, here's a community that looks like yours, and look what they're doing. That is literally that's the biggest thing that we do over here is, here's a community that looks like yours. It's very similar size, similar demographics. Look at their numbers. It can be done. It's literally that simple.
Yeah. That's proof of concept, right?
Yeah. And if you don't know what your sister city or sister county might be, you can always check in with your regional strategist and get some ideas for how to compare who might be an apples to apples based on structure, based on your census data, because you don't, depending on what your income levels are, what your population is, what your intake is, there are a lot of different ways to find an apple to compare with your apple. And it doesn't always have to be in, your neighbor. It might be somebody even in a different state. It doesn't matter. Animal sheltering, it's all fairly similar in how we manage these things. So don't get discouraged. Just keep casting a broader net or reach out to your regional strategist.
Shelley, there's been a request for your email address from people who want to hear more about what you've done. If you're willing to share it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Kelsey and Eric, you both have mentioned the regional strategists, which leads us to, what can Best Friends do to help organizations that want to do more? What do the regional strategists do? What do you do with other organizations? How can we help?
Kelsey, you go first.
Oh, sure. Big question, little answer. What do you need help with, guys? It's hard for us to give you a one size fits all, because anytime Eric or I are tasked or asked to come in and support a community, we have more questions than we have answers for at least the first phone call, because we have to understand what's happening, the why, the resources, the opportunities, and then come to identify the barriers. So I would say make sure you have that conversation with yourself. If you are not sure, I would look up our due diligence handbook on the website. April might be able to drop it in while we're chatting here. That's a resource that has been handed out for a couple of years now at our national conference, but it's going to walk you through all of those steps to really drill down and kind of go through our analytical thought process to get to the why that may not be what you started out with as being the root cause of the challenges you're experiencing. And then from there, the regional strategists are really kind of the jack of all trades at Best Friends, who can connect you with different programs, departments, and resources within Best Friends, whether it's grant funding, whether it's ordinance reviews, whether it's a petition or an action team, mentorship opportunities. They have the biggest umbrella view of everything that Best Friends has to offer. So I would say make sure you're engaged with your regional strategist. If you don't know who that is, you can find them on our website as well. But hopefully all of y'all do, or you can reach out to the network partner team and we can connect you with a regional strategist that covers your area. And you can always start a petition and start to build your volunteer base and talk to your volunteers about advocacy. So we know that the people are signed up to help you clean cages, walk dogs, take cute pictures, write these amazing adoption profiles, which is what I want to do when I grow up, is write these adoption profiles for these really hostile animals. That I think is my dream job and my salty calling when I'm done doing this. Talk to your volunteers about how to advocate and host meet and greets for, the elected officials in your community to come and meet your volunteers and see who's really invested in animal welfare in their community. There's nothing wrong with the meet and greet little mixer to just get together, not have an ask, have a good time, and start to socialize people to realize that they're elected officials and their decision makers are just people too.
Eric, anything to add?
No, really, Kelsey, pretty much nailed that one, I think. But what we can do more than anything else is we can help you figure out how to remove the barriers that you have to life saving. No more and no less. Kelsey mentioned at the top of our webinar, Ray County. That's Ray County, Tennessee, our Ray County Animal Shelter here where I live. For several years in a row, it was the highest killing shelter in the state of Tennessee. A couple of conversations, a best friend's embed, and 5 months later, it reached no-kill status and has been no-kill for over a year and a half since. That embed program actually ended early because there was nothing left to do. It took no ordinance change. It took no action from the government. It just took sitting down and thinking through what the real barriers were, what some perceived barriers were, making a few minor adjustments, and boom, started saving a pile of animals. And for those that were at the Best Friends Conference in California this past spring, the lady that was on the main stage, shelter director Cheyenne Swafford, we're not related, but Cheyenne Swafford that was on the main stage, that's the shelter director that of our little shelter here in Ray County that went from the highest killing shelter in the state to no kill. And I see her from time to time. Dayton's a small town. Ray County's is a very rural county. I see her around town. I've known her for years. I see her. I see the other folks that work at the shelter, whether it's out eating dinner or getting coffee or whatever. I see them. Their smile's a little brighter. That you can tell that they're so much happier in with their work. They're doing tremendous jobs. And it just took looking at things a little different and saying some of the perceived barriers is just what they were. They were just perceived. And I can say it took a very few meetings of sitting down and going, okay, let's look through this. What's the issue? What can we do maybe just a little bit different? And boom.
I mean, I feel like the lesson I'm hearing from all of you is that oftentimes the reason that things aren't changing is just because people don't realize it's even possible to have change. And that once you give them the insight, once you give them the evidence, once you give them the why, once you give them a little bit of heart to go with it,
That's right.
It often, not every time, but often gets a lot easier, and you can pave the way to do what it is that is right.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, very rarely anymore are we finding people working in shelters because they like to kill animals. Everybody's there doing the best that they can with the information and tools they have. It's our job to provide new information, new education, and new tools.
Well, that would be a very inspiring place to leave things, but we've got some time left. So I'm going to ask you for a blooper reel now. What are some mistakes that you've made in advocacy or that you've seen other people make? And how do you encourage others not to follow in that path?
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen shelter directors, always like sort of point the finger at their administration and we need this and we need that and you don't listen and you don't understand, instead of just like Kelsey said earlier, not pointing the finger, not blaming, but just going in to explain why, how, give solutions. They want to hear solutions. I mean, even down to my staff, when they come in here with a problem, they know don't come in unless you have at least 2 solutions to offer me. So let's think about these. And it's the same concept. Like go with them to, okay, this is the problem that I have. This is what I think could work. What do you think? Also, I kind of want to say too, it's great to build up that administration and build up that mayor. Like if they, I had one director tell me one time, every time we say something, they think it's their idea. I'm like, yeah, make it their idea. Like tell everybody it was their idea. Who cares? If you get the ordinance passed, does it really matter whose idea it was, you know? Give them the credit anytime you can, because the more you build them up, again, it's going to build that rapport with that administration. I just had to throw that in there. I've seen it happen a few times, and it's hard because I'm like, you have the wrong mentality going about it.
Don't forget to be nice. And that may sound simple and it may sound silly, but as someone that used to sit on the other side of the desk, I can think of folks that would come see me, and one lobbyist, a lobbyist actually came in my office and said, "I expect you," and I said, "Excuse me, you expect me?" This is my office, and you're not welcome here. You know, one, I wasn't going to do what they wanted anyway, but I certainly wasn't when they said, "I expect you." You know, if a local elected official says no the first time, be nice. If you've got to go take a different route to get there, be nice. The one thing that we as advocates can't do is lose our composure, lose our cool, and forget to be nice above anything and everything else. And I will say this, remember this when you're talking to government officials. We may disagree with them 100% on 99% of the issues, but I can say this about every government official that I have ever met. They believe what they're doing is in the best interest of the people that they serve. They do. We may disagree with them. We may know they're wrong, at least in our own minds. We may know they're wrong. But I promise you, there's no one serving in an office today that got up this morning and thought, I want to do something bad for the people that I represent. I want to do something harmful for my community. No one thinks that way. So we need to keep that in the back of our mind. And if we do that, the one thing that will be easy for us to do is be nice and kill them with kindness. Kelsey?
Oh gosh. For me, and Arin, I'm sorry, these are not very funny. I was trying to think of like, I called somebody the wrong name one time, or I referred to somebody's daughter as their wife. I can't think of anything like that. I'm sure I have done it, but they were graceful enough to let me just roll through it.
Which I feel like is itself a good lesson. They're human. We're human.
Yeah. Give everybody grace. Give people the grace that you would want. I think that's what Eric just said. The thing that I would suggest, and has worked really well for us and for our advocates, is to stay mission driven, stay focused. You came in to ask for one thing. We might need to compromise to get it, but don't ask for TNVR. And then in the same meeting, you end up like talking about, artificial dyes on poodles or something. Stay really focused. I was thinking of the most outlandish thing I could think of. Stay focused on what you came to address and answer those questions and talk about that, and don't get distracted by other things. And it's so easy to do because we think about other things. And even in this chat, like charter schools, right? Like we're all passionate about charter schools, but because animal issues are either, you call them nonpartisan, you call them bipartisan, whatever it is, we're going to stay focused on this and we have passed amazing laws in red states, blue states, purple states, with independents, with people who don't affiliate with a party at local levels. Don't let the bigger partisan issues that our nation is experiencing affect your ability to advocate for animals on this issue that you need to get a win on. So we want to be singular in our mission. We want to talk to them about that mission, and we want to get it done. Ignore the rest of it.
100%.
Persevere, right? Persevere. You might not
Yeah.
always get it the first time, but if this matters to you, you keep chipping away, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have 3 minutes left, and one question that has been held off for a little while now, which is, when do you turn to activism instead of advocacy? If you're talking to somebody who is thinking about going one path or the other, what's your suggestion to them?
Never.
Never.
Not if you want to be
Never.
taken seriously down the
You
road.
don't. Kelsey said never. My answer is you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like once you go that route, you can't come back from it either. You know,
Yeah.
once you're activist, you can't really now say I'm just going to advocate for it. You already went to that side.
Yep.
Well, that's
Can't put toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
No. And if you think about it, when's the last time that someone came at you really hard about a personal choice, decision, or belief that you had, and they were hard at it, you felt attacked? When did you change your mind to agree with them? We think about the people that we're talking to about this. So we just keep it kind, keep it focused. The logic, all of the arguments are on the side of the policies that you're advocating for. If you get stuck, send an email into that legislative ad, reach out to some of your colleagues. Maybe the arguments and the tactics you're using aren't working right now. We can help you come up with more.
Well, I think that's great. Any last words, you guys, in our 2 minutes that we've got?
Listen
Don't
to
give
Kelsey.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, all three of you. And thank you to everybody who came today. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you learned something. Yeah, I hope you come away feeling inspired and empowered. That's what we're hoping to do. And please don't hesitate to look at any of the resources, to reach out to your regional teams, to email legislative@bestfriends.org, and to keep fighting the good fight. Thank you for what you're doing to try to save animals.